everybody. We're Jenny and
I'm Emma
from the Musser Public Library. This is called
A Walkabout History. A bandstand became a prominent feature of Weed Park shortly after its opening. In June 1905, the Board of Supervisors decided that a bandstand sitting in the courthouse square needed to be moved. The Journal suggested that it be placed in Weed Park instead of simply destroying the structure. In August of that year, the bandstand was remodeled, repainted, and placed to occupy one of the conspicuous points overlooking the river. In Weed Park, almost directly in front of where Weed Park Club intended to build their clubhouse. In 1915, Mayor Kern proposed a tax levy that would go towards the care of Weed Park. He wanted to put 100 new benches in the park, improve the clubhouse, and erect a new bandstand, as he felt that the present bandstand was obsolete. It's unclear what happened to that ancient bandstand, as in 1921, the Journal reported that it would be located to the valley of the east of the tennis courts and north of the athletic field, which puts us in this vague location. The current bandstand that still remains in the park was approved for construction in April 1925, with the grading work to be done by Ryan and Fuller and bricks donated by the Muscatine Sand and Gravel Company. In August, it was dedicated with a performance by the Muscatine Concert Band.
You know, all the times I've gone past the bandstand structure, I always thought it was just a dull gray. But if you look really close, you can see little pieces of glass that are actually designed into this brick. And I even have the person's name, and I wanted to make sure I got it right, so I wrote it down. These bricks were specially designed by a local engineer by the name of C.H. Young.
In November 1932, efforts were made to convert parts of Weed Park into a flower preserve and rock garden. With 63 varieties of wildflowers and 7 different ferns, the preserve occupied 3 of the ravines running through the park. Drainage from the swimming pool created 4 waterfalls and 2 different small ponds to add to the scenery. One of the most abundant of these flowers were variations of zinnias, as a few years earlier, in 1929, the Muscatine Garden Club had sponsored an event to choose Muscatine's official city flower, with 90 votes awarding the title to the zinnia. In 1939, these garden club members volunteered long hours through a series of civic projects to mark 500 trees and 165 native Iowa wildflowers with metal nameplates throughout this preserve. Unfortunately, upkeep of this large garden declined, and with the construction of an improved pool and parking lot, a large part of the preserve was lost. Still, the most resilient of these native plants remain in the park's ravines. It's undated, but we have a small pamphlet in our collection that provides an inventory of the plants that were once in this preserve. The list includes 16 species of shrubs, 7 species of vines, 13 distinct trees, and 139 different flowers. Near the old wooden bridge, Jenny and I climbed down to identify as many as we could, but perhaps proceed with a bit more caution than we did. We accidentally stumbled into some poison hemlock. Poison ivy was recorded in this little pamphlet. Poison hemlock was not.
Now I know there are still shelters for use, but when I think of Weed Park, the Weed Park Tennis Shelter is the one I think of. The catchy name for this shelter came to be because it was located near the tennis courts. Built in 1949, the shelter was built of logs and slabbed wood. It was the largest shelter at the time and had the prime location of being in the center of the park. Now all that remains is a concrete base. Behind the tennis shelter, in a shaded area, were the horseshoe courts. In 1940, railing lumber that was removed from the old Monroe Street Bridge was donated for use in building horseshoe courts in Weed Park. 13 years later, in 1956, there was a revival in the sport. In 1957, improvements to the court and better lighting were added. Bleachers were even added in 1963. Across the road from the tennis shelter was the shuffleboard court. A pair of shuffleboard courts were added to the park in 1954. In 1957, the courts were reconditioned, painted, and lights were added. For a small deposit, you could rent equipment at the Weed Park stand. A refund was provided when the equipment was returned. A bit down from the shuffleboard court was the concession stand. A concession stand was introduced in 1947. It was actually experimental and constructed on skids. It showed a good profit, and the funds would be used to improve the park plantings program.
Herman McCow was the superintendent of Weed Park for 24 years. Many of the unique structures that are found in the park were made by him. Here's one of them right here. There's a couple behind me too. I don't know if you can see them very well. There's a bell and also the fish pond, which is that way over by the rose garden.
One of the more unique structures that was once found in the park was a model of a Dutch windmill. Over the winter months of 1934 and 1935, Herman McCow constructed the windmill and had it installed in the park that summer. It once stood on the island of green space between the upper and lower loops of the park, right near the entrance of the original swimming pool. Jenny and I tossed around a lot of ideas about what this windmill was. A concession stand, maybe a playhouse, one of those mini golf windmills, or perhaps just something to add to the scenery of the park, which is certainly how the postcard makes it out to seem. And we have a limited photograph of this structure and just recently found this one showing Birdie and modeling her baby car seat. So we were very excited to find an article in the journal from June 1950 that revealed the windmill to be a telephone booth. Considered one of the most unusual telephone booths anywhere, it was being used by 11-year-old Jimmy McFadden in this photo from the paper. The short article also says that there was a tree trunk inside the windmill, but we don't know if that means a tree was growing through the building or if the windmill had been built around a tree.